Hello, me darlings. So, the accent that comes to me now is Irish because sometimes some things are special. Oh, Maggie, that's such a great word. Sometimes, sometimes is a great word because it acknowledges that, and I do apologize to the people who are Irish and can hear the little glitches in me affectation. I do appreciate that. Sometimes helps us to know that something's just passing through. I feel this way now, but I might not be feeling this way in a couple of moments. Sometimes I feel sad. Sometimes I feel wrapped in the moment and I feel good. Sometimes I feel lonely. Sometimes I'm afraid. We'll see if I can drop the accent because once I get going, it's a little hard to let go, don't you know? I'm sorry I'm all whited out. It's just what this camera does in this kind of light. So, woo! We're just going to have to deal with it. Okay. So, I am having an experience of the unknown. And I did the best video of my life without a camera for the last half hour. So I'm not going to reproduce it in the same way, but hopefully combined with the intersection of your love and your energy, I'll say the things that are the most relevant and rising up in the present moment, don't you know? Would you stop chewing that gum now? It's driving me nuts. Okay. So anyway, um, given the current astrology, I think that brand new experiences, given this eclipse that happened, it will affect different people in different ways. I'm 55, and I think that if you're 54, 55, it's likely that you're going to be much more affected. And whatever the nodal cycles are, they are now what they were when I was born. We've just moved into Scorpio in the south, which is the old and familiar, and Taurus in the north, which is new and unfamiliar. This is the emotional, internal mystery realm. I love that place. This is the physical, money, value, sensory pleasure, being really in your body, the bull, grounded earth. That's definitely unfamiliar to me. Well, what I wanted to talk about was stepping into the unknown. Because don't you know, we can bring a bit of the unknown into the known. Most of our lives, we can predict what's going to happen next. Like when our lives are in a comfortable, easy routine, we know I'll probably get up. I'll probably have my coffee. It'll kind of wake me up, and then I'll go work out. And then I'll feel pretty good afterwards. And then I'll think of some sort of creative project. And then I'll eat something. And then my partner will come home and we'll have a little visit. And it'll go like this. And our lives have times when there is a predictable routine. And that's wonderful. I'm not going to pass any judgment on that. That's our lives go in these ebbs and flows of that, it being in a place of predictability and being a place of newness and unpredictability. But isn't there a little of both present in each? Because you don't really know how many times in that predictable life of yours did something unexpected happen. It happens all the time. And those unexpected things teach us to be a little more present, a little more appreciative, aware, instead of being on automatic pilot. And when we're in a place of the known, it can be scary. There are a lot of reasons for that fear, and I'm going to talk about what a gem and an opportunity that fear is, the gift that it can hold, the gold mine that it is, the gems that are hiding in the dirt, don't you know? But we can bring a little bit of the known into the unknown. So, what is the unknown? It's a mental concept. It's the future. And when we're in this place of not knowing what's next and being in an unfamiliar place, we tend to turn around and walk backwards so that we can see the past. We can see what was familiar. And if we turn around and face this new territory where we've never been before, what do we have to cultivate to navigate that? Observation, alertness, the ability to make decisions, trust that you can respond to what arises, like going skiing. I find that terribly alarming, the whole thing about skiing fast downhill, because that's what you have to have. And some people have a big receptor site for that kind of adventure, like a river tumbling into the future. That can make me nervous. It reminds me of when my mother began to descend into dementia, and I took her for a drive, and I was going 30 miles an hour, and she said, "You're going too fast, you're going too fast." And it's because we were moving into the unknown, and it was her nature to be cautious. She was a Capricorn, she was a 4 on the Enneagram. There are a lot of reasons for that, but I have that too. I have that. I have 3 planets in Cancer. I'm much more comfortable with the familiar, with the past. I like to see movies over and over again. But when you're in a place of the unfamiliar and the new, what you can bring to it is, instead of conceptualizing about what might happen or what you don't know, you focus on what you do know. What is accessible to you? What can be known? Well, in the present moment, what can be known is our experience. What's arising? What are you feeling? It's a point of contact where your experience is meeting the moment. You, as this unique human being, this journey. Aren't some of your most memorable moments when you were having a new experience? You know why that is? Because you had to be fully present in your body. You couldn't be on automatic. You couldn't afford to be on automatic. You had to be fully present. And when our lives are routine and we go to a yoga class or we have some meditative experience and we become fully present to our experience, it's incredibly rich, isn't it? So being in a situation where you don't know what's next, everything has changed. Your world is changing around you. You're being offered the opportunity to cultivate presence and to cultivate your relationship to fear. What is the fear? What are you afraid of? Suddenly, sometimes you feel or see a big looming change. Maybe your partnership is shifting. Maybe it's going to end. Maybe you need to quit your job. Maybe you're going to move. Maybe someone in your life is about to have a big change, leaving or arriving. You can see it coming, and the fear that comes up in that moment is such a gift and such an opportunity. I had a feeling of fear of being desperately lonely. And for the first time in my life, instead of treating that fear as if it were a substantive reality that I had to resist, or, I was like, okay, that's an ephemeral, perceptive, mental experience. What if I get curious about that and push against it a little bit? Desperately lonely. What does that mean? Have I ever felt that in this life? Is it a past life experience? What if I were desperately lonely? What would I do? How would I handle that? What would be my resources? What would be the gifts in that experience? See, so I'm not coming to any conclusions or getting any big answers. Answers are popping up as I'm saying this, but I'm exploring it. I'm gently palpating it. I'm getting curious, and there's a gentleness, there's a kindness there. The way people are with their dogs is how they are with this instinctual inner child, emotional, the parts of us that are raw and can't lie to us about our experience. We can call that the heart, the emotions, the body, the primal self, the inner child. And that's like your dog. And the way you are with your dog is, just think about that. Do you keep him on a tight leash? Do you forget about him? Are you tender and comforting to your dog? Do you give them what they need? Do you ask them how they're feeling when it's of no relevance to your experience? Do you find them amusing and cute? Anyway, another thing that occurred to me with all of this, and I have to go run and get my sweater. I think sometimes we're afraid of having an overwhelming experience. I can tell you where that comes from, but I think that's less important than how we handle it. Okay, where it tends to come from is that your inner child, when you were a child, something came up and that kind of emotion presented itself. Like, say, your mom always picked you up at the bus stop because it was a really long walk home, and one day she wasn't there. You could not process fully as a child the trauma of abandonment. Say that stretched out into 15 minutes. That's an eternity for a child. Okay, and that can be a trauma. And when a similar experience comes up, all you have for reference is this experience of being 7 years old and not having the emotional capacity to really deal with the overwhelm of potential abandonment and complete desperate loneliness for the rest of your life. I'm all alone, there's no one to take care of me. Interesting that example came up because that's probably what I'm dealing with. But you're adult. In present time, the therapeutic process is about going back, being with that child, re-experiencing the fear, but also bringing your adult into the situation and parenting yourself in a loving, conscious way. I'm here with you. I am allowing of this experience. I'm not going to push it away. Oh, you're just worried. How do we treat that feeling and that experience habitually just to manage it? Oh, you're just being ridiculous, whatever, gets reinforced by people we attract into our lives that keep labeling that experience. And we're just all trying to deal with this overwhelming feeling. How do we deal with this thing? Well, the way you really deal with it is you say, come here, honey. You just be Mr. Rogers. You be Mother Mary. You be Deepak Chopra or Carolyn Mason. You're with the child in that experience. And then you say, you know what, honey, I'm going to take care of you. I might not do the best job in the world, but I have friends. I have resources. I've got faith. I know that this is okay. We're going to be okay. And when you begin to cultivate that relationship, then it's much less frightening when you experience an overwhelming emotion. You develop a pathway in the midst of the unknown. You go, okay, how have I dealt with experiences like this before? I brought my kindness, my faith, my gentleness, and then it wasn't so overwhelming and scary. It turns out there is a way through. So the unknown presents us with, it'll bring up feelings of, I don't know how to deal with this. And that is the experience of a child. I've never dealt with this before. How supportive was our environment as children in helping us to deal with things we'd never dealt with before? If my mother had said, now she was great and I love her, okay, but this is reparenting 101. If my mother had said, I would have said to myself, my first day of school, I would have said, oh, honey, it might be a little scary. Are you scared? Yes, I'm scared. What are you afraid of, honey? I'm afraid the kids won't like me. I'm afraid they won't like my dress. I don't know if I like my dress. It's kind of gaudy. I'm having an experience here. Oh, honey, I understand that. You know that most kids are feeling that way on their first day of school? Most kids are afraid that they won't be liked. And if you meet another little girl who's afraid, you might even just ask her, are you scared on your first day? What did your mom tell you? Maybe you invite that child to make a connection with someone that will end that feeling of, just like when Forrest Gump said to the bus driver, I'm not allowed to talk to strangers, so, "What's your name?" "Hi, I'm Forrest Gump, what's your name?" And she's cracking her gum, and she goes, "I'm Andrea," or whatever her name is. He goes, "Good, now you're not a stranger anymore." But anyway, yeah, how do we the way we face the unknown is deeply connected to the environment that was holding us or not holding us as children, as when we were encountering new situations day after day after day after day. Always something new. So, another thing I want to talk about is we usually navigate with the mind. The mind, I just got this vision as I was walking. It's this tiny little homunculus up here that's in the lookout tower that's really just supposed to be collecting data. Now, this air traffic controller, this data gatherer, they've done experiments and they know this data gatherer does not actually know the difference between real experience and imagined experience, between a dream, a movie, and one's own emotions, someone else's emotions. That's why manifesting works, because you can imagine something, create a vibration, which then creates physical reality. Rehearsing doing a jump shot mentally is the same or better because you can completely control that within your mind. It's more effective than physical practice, they're saying. So that data gatherer is not meant to navigate your situation, because if they can't tell what's real and what isn't, then maybe they have a different role and there's some other part of you that's supposed to be navigating, deciding where to go, when, and why. So you come to the driver, the deeper driver of your experience. Even if you think it's your mind, this is really driving the experience, a feeling, the heart. This culture has done everything, the evil in this culture has done everything in its power to get you away from this. So there are all kinds of derogatory terms associated with this. Feelings, indulgence, lazy, overly emotional, overly sensitive, overly feeling. You shouldn't be feeling. You should feel bad about the fact that you're feeling. Okay, so just blow that all out the water. Come down to the center of our actual navigator. And then you begin to really make contact with what is happening in the present moment. That's how we experience beauty. That is the essence of the wonder. Wow. The term wa Guruji. And it means what it sounds like. It's a spontaneous unfoldment of experience into the unknown. When we're comfortable and we feel safe, that's what watching a movie is. It's fun, adventure. When there's fear, where is that fear coming from? A lot of different places. The mind does not deal well with fear. It thinks it's real. The heart knows how to deal with fear, and you begin by feeling it. You begin by asking, who is afraid? What are you afraid of? Maybe you could handle that. How would you handle that? What would your resources be? Now I want to talk about something we have labeled needs. Needs are just receptor sites that are points of contact for your experiencing this existence. I'm going to say that again. Or you could just double tap on the left side of the screen. Needs are receptor sites that are points of contact with our present experience that allow us to make contact. Points of contact with our experience. Needs are just receptor sites. Some people have a big receptor site for water. I need to be in the water. It's not like need, like you're, don't think of the judgment side of need. Think of like how we might judge needs. Think of how that's a point of contact. There's a satisfaction. We have an aesthetic need, a need for an environment to feel a certain way. Fire types are famous for being very good at appointing their environments to feel good. Some people have big receptor sites for the experience of sadness. Fours on the Enneagram actually do. Feeling sadness is a very orienting point of contact for them. It's a pathos. It's a deep yearning of some kind. If we can take away all the labels that mind wants to give experience, all the judgment function, and really get down into the essence of the experience, what is that like? How can you describe it in a totally new and different way? I have a big receptor site for words. That's one of my things. It's a way that I make contact with my experience and with reality is to put it into words. If anybody's watching, give me a shout out because this is unusual to have nobody watching. Are they shadow banning me again? I've been doing some saucy videos lately. Anyway, it's going out into the ethers. So, receptor sites. Let's think about some other receptor sites. Some people have a big receptor site for pumpkin spice lattes because it represents a moment that is just for me. What is smoking all about? I quit smoking I'm coming up on 3 months ago. And the way I quit is that I said to myself, while I was still smoking and desperately wanted to quit, I said, oh, I quit smoking a long time ago. And then I would just let it go. I'd put the statement out there and then let it go. And it worked. I quit smoking a long time ago, and now it's true. Um, but what receptor site was that about? It was about pushing other people away because it's ugly, dirty, stinky, smelly, right? It pushed other people out of my environment so that I could have this cultivated 5 or 10 minutes that was just for me. There was a fire ceremony there somehow. There was the sacred smoke carrying the prayers. Okay, so since I've quit smoking, have I replaced that? Have I found a new way to meet those receptor sites? Yes and no. But anyway, so receptor sites are points of contact. And when we really breathe into what do I need today? What receptor site is showing up? And I want to come back to fear for a second because, okay, the example of somebody who has an opportunity of a lifetime job interview and then they are there in the process of sabotaging it and it's like why? Well, it's the fear of being happy, the fear of failure, the fear of being handed your desire and not meeting it adequately and um so sometimes opportunities like that we're just like it was no big deal and we push it away. I won, I think it was second or third place. Isn't that weird? I can't, maybe it's a Mandela effect. I think it was third place in composition. Maybe it was second place in Jefferson County. That's a county in Denver. It's just huge, huge Jefferson County. And I won second place in this musical composition contest when I was in high school. And my parents didn't even ask me when it was, or there was no talk about going to this thing. No energy surrounding let's celebrate you because my brother Tim was he got the accolades for greatness and they couldn't see it. That wasn't in their script for me to be independently great and amazing. The family system just didn't know what to do with that and I certainly didn't. So I just like how might that have changed my life? Anyway, when you're afraid of something and you tend to want to minimize it, see it as something in your environment that's lighting up. because it's trying to get your attention. Like the feeling of being desperately lonely. Well, if I did this thing, I might end up desperately lonely. Well, there's probably a hidden gem in there. Yeah, it's your life trying to get your attention. Your fear, it's really just the data gatherer up here going, whoop, whoop, whoop. Then bring that, say, thank you for that information, little data gatherer homunculus, teeny tiny, way too small to navigate my whole life of this giant vehicle. Bring that down in here and experience it, taste it, get curious about it. So I guess I've kind of, I think I've done justice to the talk I had with the field. Yeah, so blessings. I do read the comments. Sometimes I take a few days to get back to them. My guides just told me, go into that video you made a few days ago and look at the comments. And there was a comment from Gypsy, JJ, I think, and it made my day. It was, and that's when I started to cop an Irish accent. I was like, sometimes you feel like a fart in the wind, don't you know? And you don't know if anything you're doing is having an impact. And we do it anyway from a pure place in our hearts, but sometimes we need to know that it is making a difference. It's got some substance in the lives of other people. And I think the Spirit gives us just enough to keep going. And that, Gypsy, is what you were for me. Thank you. Thank you so much, darling. I appreciate you too. So, have a wonderful day. And remember to say, sometimes some things are scary. And sometimes you find space for that experience. I love you, darlings. Bye bye now.